Hey guys, Magnus Robert here, bringing you another video, and of course, about a month ago, I did a video talking about my top 10 best multi-events, and that video did quite well. I think I got a lot of cool comments, and of course I did say that I was going to come and bring you a top 10 worst multi-events, so that's what I'm doing today. So I've gathered my list of all of the remaining multi-events, including the most recent event as well. I know it's not finished, maybe it's too harsh to be judging on it this soon, probably, but whatever. I want to make the list have an honourable mention, or a dishonourable mention at least. So yeah, we're going to be going through them all, talking about them in detail, and then after the video's finished, you guys can tell me if I'm wrong. But yeah, again, it's just all my opinion. There's no objection or fact really, but I think most people can agree these 11 events that I'm going to be talking about, obviously the dishonourable mention and then the top 10 worst, are not some of Tapped Out's strongest for sure. So let's get into it, starting off with our dishonourable mention, which is gonna be Holiday Who Done It. So I'm not a massive fan of this one. I did like it at first, but I think over time, as it's kind of sat with me, I just think it's a snooze fest. It's an absolute snoozer of an event. I think character-wise, there's definitely some strong points. Mary Tannenbaum, I think, was actually a surprisingly really good character. Her questline was actually really good. Her animations weren't too bad. The park ranger wasn't so bad either. I quite liked his little questline. His animations were meh, but they were okay. Herb Tannenbaum, I think, was actually a really cool character. I enjoyed him quite a lot, so yeah. And his kind of inclusion in the event, of course, made sense to obviously add him in there. However, the Gnome in the Home and the Nutcracker were absolute snooze fests of characters. They were boring as hell. We got some costumes as well. Santa Sideshow Bob was a pretty decent one. And Elf Mo, I think, well, Santa Sideshow Bob wasn't that great. He was a bit mediocre. Elf Mo was very mediocre. Santa Snake, I think I probably would say was a bad costume. Building-wise, there definitely was some good ones in there. Santa's Castle I liked. The Bag and a Reindeer. Hunting Range was okay. Snake's House was a great one to get. So got to give that one props. Mount Useful, I think, was a nice enough little building to get. And yeah, some of them in there aren't so bad. There's no buildings I really hate. Even the Warehouse Hideout I don't think's that bad. It's just a bit ugly really, but I like how they made it quite big. Decoration wise, there was some good stuff in there. They obviously added all the sleighs. I liked all the sleighs with the little animations, so gotta give them props there. So the fact that they went to that extent. Wasn't too happy about the Plow King though being added as super premium and literally having like nothing, with it. That was a bit of a joke. However, I do have to give mad props for the Christmas trivia. I actually really enjoyed this. Yeah, it was a bit annoying to answer all these questions, but the fact that they actually added something bonus there, I think, it should be given some credit because it made the event a lot more interactive, and the community and stuff had to come together to answer the questions and look for answers and stuff, and anything which gets the community engaging with each other I think is a good thing. So yeah, I like that aspect. So a lot of positives, to be honest. I think there is a lot of good things in this event. I just found parts of it a bit boring. So that's why it's just going on the dishonourable mention and not going on on the actual list. I just think it's a dishonourable mention for this one. But that is Holiday Who Done It. Cirque de Springfield is next on the list. And you might be thinking, wait, this is way too low. I hate the fact it is quite low on the list. It's only number 10. But to be honest with you, I actually don't mind this event when you compare it with the other events that are on this list. Now, I think character-wise, this event is pretty bad. Marguerite, Burnsome, and the Human Donkey are definitely some of the worst characters we've ever got. The Cirque de Puree Ringmaster and the Dingaling Ringmaster, I think they are, and the Bearded Lady actually, they're all very mediocre. Scuzzo the Clown I didn't mind, I think he was okay. And Mr. McGreg, if he weren't super premium, would have been like the highlight of this event. I still think he is a really cool character, but he is super premium, so that's obviously not a great aspect. Building wise, there are some I like. I don't like the black and white ones too much. The Marguerite's Wagon, of course, and the Carnival Camp. But like, I really love the Hall of Mirrors. I think that's a really snazzy looking building. The Cotton Candy Stand, I can kind of take it or leave it really, but it's okay. But the Dingling Bros Circus tent, I know it's premium, but it looks awesome. And the Ultimate Fighting Zoo, again, also looks awesome. Decoration-wise, I love a lot of these decorations. I just think they're so bright and colourful and nice to get. The circus seal, the Dingling tent, the animal high wire, the cannon, the lion, the circus rings. There's just so much cool-ass decorations in this one. And I think, honestly, that is what elevates it. The few characters that are really good, some really nice-looking buildings, and also some of the decorations were just great. Now, did they really belong in the prize track? Probably not, but we'll get on to prize tracks in a bit, and how diabolical some of them are. But for the most part, I think structure-wise, this event was pretty solid. Character in the final was the final prize. In the first 3 acts, it was only the 4th act that was a little iffy. But yeah, overall, I was pretty happy with this event. In kind of hindsight, I guess. Now, granted, when I first played the event, I wasn't too keen on it. I still aren't too keen on it. A big thing I don't like is the fences being charged for donuts. That was a bit crappy, but to be fair, they're so generic looking that you can just use like other fences that are already in the game anyway, and it looks fine. It's not like a big deal, and like it's not like the circus sign you have to connect with the right thing, because like with the zoo, for example, it looks weird adding the zoo walls next to the zoo. It'd look weird if you had like the normal red walls next to the zoo sign. It just wouldn't look right. So yeah, I kind of give that a pass, I guess, although I still don't like the fact that they add the fences as premium. But yeah, there's a lot to like in this event, so it's number 10 somehow. I don't know how, but we're going to get onto some very bad events. Simpsons wrestling. Jesus. So when this event first came out, I was like, this is one of the most garbage, awful, terrible events ever. And now I'm putting it as number 9 on my list. So shows you how I've changed, or shows you how some really bad stinkers have came through recently. Now, this event obviously has a theme, and it sticks with that theme, so I can respect that. Obviously, the theme is wrestling, and by God, does this event stick to that theme by the letter. They don't stray whatsoever. And so I kind of respect that, but it just means that the event is not very exciting in terms of, content from The Simpsons that we're going to be getting. So let's start off with the characters. So Captain Flag, Dr. Bonebreak, Iron Yuppie, were all obviously free characters. They are, to me though, they're all very mediocre. I think they have some okay animations, but the fact that they just don't have much to them in terms of personality, I think these 3 were probably the worst ones. And then we have the premium ones. Professor Werner von Braun, I actually didn't mind him, and Rumbelina, I didn't mind her. The Beefy Bishop, I think, was pretty bad in terms of quests and animations as well. But I kind of like his look. And Rasputin the Friendly Russian, I'll just say it. I think Rasputin the Friendly Russian was actually a very, very good character. I like his look, I liked his questline for the most part, and his animations were okay. So that's the one I give a pass on, to be honest. Rasputin the Friendly Russian, you get my approval. Honest Abe was obviously a costume as well, but wasn't too keen on that. I really think that Honest Abe didn't deserve to be a separate costume from the Gorgeous Grandpa, to be honest. And then building-wise, there were some pretty nice ones in here. I don't mind the Wrestling Pavilion. Wasn't too fan of the Golden Ring Wrestling Headquarters. Obviously, it was a tapped-out exclusive, but I just think it looks ugly as hell. The Coot Society was okay, I guess, although its inclusion was very weird. Same with the Tofu Bell. University of Heidelberg, I actually really like that, even though it's a tapped-out exclusive, I'm pretty sure. The Springfield Episcopal's Church was nice. And the St. Basil's Cathedral is a really excellent building. However, the Beefy Bishop's Barbershop was probably one of the worst buildings ever added to the game, because it's a really crappy interior. Decorations, they didn't have much to work with, but we got like an interior, which I wasn't too keen on. The 2 wrestling rings, like we've already got a wrestling ring in the game, and I think the fancy one's okay, but the backyard one I'm not too keen on. The wrestling statue is just really ugly. The party limo is okay, I guess. The Burns' excess pile is fine, and the championship belt is it's fine, I guess. It's passable. And then obviously the rest of the prize track was just filled with tokens, which I'm okay with, but well, I'm not okay with, but obviously all of these events pretty much have the prize track filled with tokens, to be honest, so I guess there's not much pinning them down for that, but at least they had a character or costume in each of the prize tracks. I think that's the one thing you can say about this event, and in terms of the quest line and the way that they tie things together, it's solid. It really is solid. They really had their theme, honed down, so I can't believe I'm saying this, but Simpsons Wrestling is number 9, not that bad compared to some of the ones to come. Abe's in Toyland. Oh, we got a Christmas update on here. Some Christmas updates are just so boring sometimes. Now, I wanted to put this a bit higher because despite everything about this event, I do appreciate what they try to do. Now, I think Christmas and Halloween events have kind of turned into like either we go to something hyper specific and we try and, from like one segment or one episode, and we try and like pull in, all the crap we can to make this event work, or we just get what I like to call throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks, which is basically what some of the Halloween events kind of ended up turning into, where they would just throw a bunch of stuff together and just kind of hope that it all works out and have like a very loose quest line to tie together. So what I like about this update is it actually has a pretty strong theme, and that's kind of like Abe's life, I guess, to talk about it. And we're talking about, Abe Simpson. And I think it ties in quite nicely. We get his father, Orville, who I think was an okay character. Edwina was a great character to get. Philip Heflin was a bit boring, can't lie, and Rhea LaFleur was a bit boring, can't lie. But those are the 3 characters. Old Tut, though, I think was great. Abby was great, and Aaron Burr was completely unrelated to this event. I don't know why they chucked in Aaron Burr there, but whatever. But I really liked Abby, and I really liked Edwina. Those 2 were like really, really strong characters. So I think that's part of the reason that I've elevated it a little bit. Building-wise, Carnaby Street was nice. The Whiz Bang Toy Company's okay. Vandersniff and Whiffy, I'm not too keen on. The Fallen Divas Apartments, I actually really like that building. The Universal Panacea, what do we say it? That one's alright. The Old Theatre District's nice as well. And the Hall of Vice Presidents, bit crappy, but whatever. So yeah, building wise it's not too bad. The main reason why I kind of put this event so low is look at these prize tracks. This is what the prize track. Not only did it have 1 token in the prize track, it had 2. This event kind of took the piss a little bit with the tokens, I feel. Now, granted, yeah, it's cool when newer players can get new stuff, but there's always the newer players get old stuff, but there's always the new players or players who've got everything that is in your mystery boxes, and I think you do have to cater to them. I think I'm not happy with any part of the prize track being taken up with a token, really. I think a much better solution is to just add the token as like, a kind of alongside the final prize or alongside one of the prizes in the prize track. But I can kind of see it sometimes when the token is just takes up one part, but like I said, this one takes up 2 parts in each prize track. There's 2 tokens in each prize track, which take up 2 parts of the event, and no matter how good the theme and questline was, I think that has to weigh the event down. So I think this is as high as I could put it. As low as I could put it, I guess. I did want to put it lower because I do like a lot of things that this update did. I like the questline, I like the theme, I like the characters for the most part too, and the buildings, and even the decorations, as few as there are. But yeah, like I said, with the whole prize track thing, I have to put it this high. So that's it for Abe's in Toyland. Love and War. So despite, I think a lot of people hate this event quite a lot, I do like the what they were going for. I think basing it off Marge's little fictional book was a neat idea, and kind of having this be sort of both a Valentine's Day event and also sort of a quasi-Marge event. I actually really liked what they were going for. I just think in execution, some of the things I wasn't too keen on. Now, I think a lot of people kind of look at this event and they say, oh, it's a doppelganger event, so that's why it's one of the worst events. But I don't think these doppelgangers are too bad. Temperance was pretty decent. I think she's a fine enough character in her own right. Cyrus Manley isn't too bad either, although he's not great. But I think my biggest issue is those are the only 3 characters. So yeah, Esme I think was very boring. Marge Ziff, bit boring. I think she's probably one of the worst doppelgangers we've got, to be fair. But yeah, Captain Mordecai I wasn't too fussed on. I think he was okay though. Like, he wasn't bad, but he wasn't amazing. Robot Marge, I did like some of her animations, I can't lie. And Titania, obviously the Gills deal, but I love Titania. She was she's got a big pair of spirit. She got a big spirit. Anyway, we've got some okay buildings too. Only 4 of them were free though, so that's a bit sad. I'm not too keen on the Ziff Hotel. I just don't like these big grandiose buildings anymore. I've got a bit bored of them. The Downtown Doghouse Yoga Studio though, love that. And the Temperance's House is nice enough. I wasn't too keen on, what was it, the Orfundo de Aussie Ziff thing. He wasn't too keen on that. But premium wise, I think books, and additional books. That building pops, love it. Don't mind the Ziff Bouvier Mansion. That one's quite nice. On the Ziff Wedding Home's quite nice. Knockers. Gotta love Knockers. That's a great building. But Captain Mordecai's boat arguably shouldn't really be a building. Maybe, I don't know. Decoration wise, gotta talk about the Love Tester. I love what they did with the Love Tester. Adding that into the prize track, they tied it in, they made it make sense. And of course, the Love Tester has a great function as to when you tap it, it actually gives you like your results. The rest of the decorations, some are okay, some are bad. And then, yeah, the only other thing to really kind of knock this event on is the last 2 acts. So the first 2 acts I think are okay. There's a token in the prize track. There's a building in each one though. One of them does have an animation, but you know, it's whatever. But there's a character in each one, at the very least. But Act 3 and 4 I think are pretty bad. There's both of them have an animation and also a token, and of course they don't have characters or costumes. So yeah, I think that's what lets this event down. Surprisingly, the reason why I don't like this event as much is nothing to do with the characters really, or not much to do with the characters. It's more to do with the structure, to be honest. I think that there's a lot of cool stuff that they added in this event, and a lot of not so bad characters. It's really just the structure that lets this one down, but I think this is a fair spot for it, so that's Love and War. Treehouse Sahara XXXII, aka the dinosaur update. You probably were expecting this one. So when I was talking before about the holiday events being kind of, they either are one or 2 things, you know, you throw shit at the wall, see what sticks, or you take a very obscure little segment of an episode and you try and make an entire event based on that. And that's basically what they did with this one. Now, what's kind of annoying is I think there probably was enough to add from that segment. If they really wanted to stretch it, they could. I think Uta did, in the Discord, did a little mini event, like a follow-up mini event for that, for this event, and there was a few things they could have added that might have actually fleshed this event out, which would have meant that they didn't have to pull from other episodes. Because this event isn't just trying to be a dinosaur event, it's also trying to be a sort of a little tie-in for the 50-foot eyesore segment, and also a tie-in for the Island of Dr. Hibbert segment as well. And I think it's taking, and also the Rigelian stuff as well, the stuff with the Rigelian stuff too. It's just too many elements. It feels like they really wanted to do a dinosaur update. They didn't think it quite met the scratch, and they didn't want to be too generous with their stuff, because really I think the only way they could have made it work is to have both a costume and a character in the prize track of each prize track, be very generous with the event, make the walls free and not donuts, and you could have had a really, really cool event on your hands. But they instead tried to just force too many elements from too many different episodes, and I just think it didn't really come together very, very nicely. So let's talk about characters first. Comic Book Ram, I don't like at all. I think he was a massive mistake to add him instead of the Walrus Homer. Now maybe it's because Walrus Homer might be a bit too hard to animate walking around the town, possibly, but I think Walrus Homer should have been the character instead. And also, let's not forget that these should not be characters. Why aren't they costumes? Because the issue is, this is another big thing with this event, is consistency. And I am sick to death of saying this, but because it's so annoying. If Tapped Out want to kind of have, make certain characters, instead of costumes, making them characters, that's fine. Just be consistent. But this event literally breaks its own rules. So Comic Book Ram is obviously a character, but we've already got the Island Dr. Hibbert as a costume. So which one is it? Which one are we having, So I don't like that. Grandpasaurus is, of course, a full playable character, yet we get an NPC for the Hadrosaur Bouvier. The Hadrosaur Bouvier is an NPC, so why is that one an NPC, yet this one's a character? Over Underbeast was mediocre. Again, Panther Marge. I liked Panther Marge quite a lot, but again, really should be a costume. And the Sentient Lard Lad statue, I don't mind him, but I do think he was a bit disappointing. I was hoping that they would do a lot more with him, and I don't know. Overall, he was a bit meh for me. Costume-wise, I don't mind the geriatric Park Burns. Obviously, it makes sense to add it, but again, why is this a costume? But the Grandpasaurus, which is what Grandpa gets turned into in the episode, why is that a character? Bionaut Marge, I think, was probably one of the crappiest costumes we've ever got. But Mecha Chambers is one of the best costumes we've ever got. Test Subject Bar was completely unrelated and was super premium. I actually forgot that was even added, to be honest, so tells you all you need to know about that one. And then we have the buildings. So there are lots of nice buildings. Geriatric Park Visitor Centre is okay. You have your Geriatric Park Pond is okay. And then they ran out of things to add, really. So they were like, oh, we'll have the House of Pain from the Hibbert Island Bungalow. Yeah, there's some nice buildings in here. I don't mind a lot of these. Wasn't too keen on the Dr. Hibbert Manor. Wasn't too keen on the Geriatric Park Dome. But the rest pop. Some of them pop really, like the New Invention Expo, that one pops, and the Van Brunt and Churchill Ad Agency, that one pops out really well as well. So I do like those ones. Decorations were a bit dire. Obviously, you have the issue with the walls. They're obviously premium, so you can't even build your own dinosaur thing. This event also did try to be like a sort of sequel to the zoo event, but it made so much of the stuff in the zoo event premium that it was kind of like spitting on the legacy of the zoo event. I really appreciate the zoo event, and it felt like this update just was like, hey, we're bringing it back, but it's got a price behind it. And then a lot of the other decorations were just vehicles, and I don't mind getting the odd vehicle here and there, but it's just so many. I know that's part of the I think it's kind of two things. One, some of these you didn't need to add, like the Sideshow Mel monster truck didn't need to be added. The future military jeep didn't need to be added. And the others could have been added, I guess, because they're all geriatric park related. Bionaut ship didn't need to be added, though, to be fair. Yeah, I don't know. It was just too many like vehicles that were added. It was kind of overwhelming. And then in terms of like the actual prize track, obviously we get Act 1, we get the Burns costume. And I understand it's sort of why it needs to be added in this update, but it's just not great. And then Act 2, no character, no costume. Act 3 is the Comic Book Ram, the worst character that was added in this update. And then Act 4 is a really crappy costume for Marge, and the Red Devil realty sign, I mean, he looks cool, but again, I think there was enough there to make him a playable character, so I think that was disappointing that he wasn't a playable character. So yeah, overall, I was just salty about this event, didn't like it at all. Yeah, there was tappables, which was kind of neat, but overall, I really hated this update. So many people were raving about it, but this update just depressed me overall, so Here's it on the list. Still not one of the worst, so didn't make it to the top 5, but now we are in the top 5 worst, so let's get into it. Showbiz Showdown. I know people are going to be saying, wait, this event's too recent. You can't be putting it this high on the list when it's only very recent. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe I shouldn't be, but I think I've made my opinions on this event pretty clear already. And I don't think much is going to change that. If by some miracle, the next 3 characters that we're going to be unlocking, or 4 characters that we're going to be unlocking, are like, even if they are absolutely out of this world, the very best is I may kind of knock this down a place or 2. So it would be where the dinosaur event is, or where the Apes in Toyland is. At the very least, that would be the sort of best case scenario for this event. Because honestly, I think this is such a terrible event. I don't like it at all. I think a lot of people saw this initially and saw all the Marvel parody characters and they thought, wow, that's really cool. But to be honest, they're not great. I think Airshot was awful. The Polystar Executive was terrible. I think Black Voodoo wasn't too bad. I do think he was okay. And Quetzalcoatl, or whatever her name is, she was okay as well. I didn't mind those two. Those two actually had some decent animations, but they weren't anything like stellar. They were just pretty good, you know. They weren't amazing. They were just pretty good. Plus, Quetzalcoatl was super premium, so, you know, that kind of knocks her down a few places in my opinion. Magnesium Man, I mean, he could be really awesome, but the rest of the characters are premium. So, you know, two characters for free and the rest are premium. That's not a good sign either. Plus, there is no costumes or anything, so that's all we're getting. 2 free characters and the rest are premium. So even if Chinos, Moby Man, and Hydreniquate, that one, even if those 3 are absolutely out of this world, they are still premium, and that's a negative thing in my opinion. Building wise, I don't like the buildings for the most part. I think Stage 4 is kind of crappy. They really should have built that out. Go check my Cosmic Wars event I did just to show you where this comes from. They really could have built this studio out, I think, instead of just giving us one tiny little, you know, little warehouse basically. The film director's trailer, we've got so many trailers before, so I do not care for it. Polystar Pictures is a really, really cool building, to be fair. And the others, I think the Cosmic War Ranch is a bit generic for me. Don't think I will be too keen on it. But the Ginormous Pictures and the Vindicator's Base are both awesome, so I give those ones a big thumbs up. And then we kind of come to decorations. Like, I don't think these decorations are bad necessarily. Like, the movie light and the movie camera, I don't dislike them, but I just don't think they should be in the prize track. And they shouldn't be premium. You know, charging 2 donuts for the movie light and 3 donuts for the movie camera when neither of them really do anything when you tap on them, I think that's pretty crappy. They really should just be added to the store for cash. And then the billboard is fine, I guess. The Sans Space exterior set is pretty cool. I do like that one, but the interior set I'm not too keen on. And then the rest, we'll have to see, but none of them look too amazing, and they all kind of fill out the prize track. Also, the Fractured Moon was terrible. It was premium as well, 150 donuts for that in Airshot. That was such a rip-off. And of course, this event has returned to adding tokens in the prize track, which normally, I know most of the events actually have done this, but most of the events in this list have done that, but, you know, it's just not great. I just don't like it. And it feels like, again, I mentioned this in my review, but it feels like this event, similar to the dinosaur event actually, is trying to kind of throw so many elements together. So they've got the Vindicator stuff, you know, the Avengers parody, and then it's also trying to throw in some Star Wars parody stuff, as well as doing the whole, you know, crusty Sands of Space thing as well. So it's doing way too much, I feel. It really should have just tried to stick with one kind of theme and kind of run with that. And you might be saying, well, there's not enough stuff in the Vindicator stuff. Yeah, there isn't enough stuff. So maybe actually pull some stuff that's a bit more relevant, you know, like superhero stuff. I've mentioned it before, but like in the Everyman episode, there's like this building that they film a fight scene on, you know, the typical filming a fight scene, the final fight scene on the top of a building, you know, at that building, give us the, you know, climax fight scene building or whatever. You know, there's so many little things here and there that you can take from different episodes. You know, stuff from the, like, stuff with the Fossil 4. You know, there's loads of little tiny things that they could pull together and actually make this event work as like a sort of part 4 to the superhero, or part 3 for the superhero, or part 5. I don't even know what it is at this point. But another superhero event, basically. And yeah, so I'm not too keen on this one. I don't like it very much. So yeah, I'm going to be putting it here. Maybe it feels a bit harsh putting it in number, 4? But that's where I'm putting it. So that's Showbiz Showdown. Treehouse Sahara XXX. So if ever there was an example of throwing shit at a wall and seeing what sticks, it's this event right here. So this event's all over the place, the quest line's all over the place, the characters and themes and things that they've added is all over the place, and to be honest, that's the main reason as to why this is so high. I think it's just a mess of a story for a starter, so I think that's a huge negative. Now, saying that, there definitely are some very cool characters that were added in this event. I have to give them props. So, Malicious Crub, I think, is a bit boring for me, but whatever. Zia Simpson, I actually really like her character. It's just, she makes no sense being added in this update, and her inclusion in the questline and the way that they tied her in was really crappy. So, I like her character, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of like if they were to do a Christmas update and they were to add us, they were to first add Kang in a Christmas update. Like, sure, I really like Kang, he's a really cool character, and, they did really cool stuff with his animations and stuff, but he doesn't make sense to be first added in a Christmas update. Same thing for Zia, she doesn't make sense to first be added in a Halloween update. It was so random. Gelatinous Homer, honestly, one of the worst characters ever added. Should be a costume, there's literally no reason as to why this is a separate character. Martin of the Opera, I don't mind him, he's okay. Lucifer Satan is okay. The Monkey Paw Salesman, I really do like him, and I really do like Dr. Griffin, aka the Invisible Man. Bridge Troll Mo is terrible. Kamala is, she's okay. God is a great character, ridiculously overpriced, but I do say he is a very, very cool character with a very, very cool feature. But again, his inclusion in this event made 0 sense. It was so random to chuck him into this event. Who would think that they're gonna add God to the game, and God's gonna be a Halloween character, which technically is what he is. God is a Halloween character in Tapped Out. It's so weird. And he was completely disconnected from the event. He was just kind of chucked in there. So how much credit I can give that, I don't know. Moving on, let's get into buildings. So building wise, there are some decent ones. Hagendef, or whatever you call it, is okay. Dracula's Castle's really, really cool. Seven Sisters, I don't mind either. Three Bears House is a really, really nice looking house. Rigel 7, I don't actually mind it too much. I know it's in a bubble, but I quite like it. And the Invisible House is very nice too. And you might be thinking, oh, look at that as well. Only one premium building. Very cool. But there's also not very many buildings as well, which is a bit of a downer. And then you look at decorations. You got Robot Homer. I don't like that one. I hate the fact that that was added as like a decoration and not a costume, so not keen on that. The Underground Piano is meh, take it or leave it. Satan's Pain is pretty bad. It's just too small. Monkey Paws Shop, I don't mind. The Deep Dark Woods, I don't mind. The Rigel pod little thingy there, it's fine, I guess, and the Ten Commandments is fine, I guess. But you might be thinking, hang on a minute, that seems quite light. That's quite light, isn't it, in terms of content? I feel like there wasn't that much, there wasn't that much to talk about there. Well, that's because if you look at the prize track, you'll see that just like Abe's and Toyland, it does the same thing, where essentially there's only actually 3 things in each prize track. Like 3 new things, and then they give you a character or a character combo in the prize track from a returning character / character combo. Now for returning players, this is awesome, I do admit that, but I don't like it. Like, I'm okay with them doing it maybe once every prize track instead of a token, like doing this, but doing it like twice in each part of each in each act is too much for me, way too much. Yeah, it's cool to give returning players, new players, all these kind of premium characters for free. That's cool, but that's what the tokens are for. That's what the mystery boxes are for. Ruining the prize track, and kind of, you're just ruining the prize track to kind of give people free stuff. And as well, it just feels like this event was rushed. I always felt that this event was really, really rushed. Like they didn't have enough stuff to add, or they didn't have enough assets made, or whatever it may be. And they were like, shit, we've got to fill out the prize track ASAP. And they were like, just chuck in some premium stuff, there you go. And just chuck in some returning stuff, there you go. So we got like a bunch of returning stuff just chucked in the prize track, kind of willy-nilly. The whole event was an absolute mess, didn't make any sense, was literally the definition of throwing shit at the wall and seeing what stuck. Did not like it whatsoever. Yeah, that's about it. That's about it. Now, I will say, it was very, very cool that they had, you know, the 4 free characters. That's awesome. And I do have to... No, 5 free characters, actually. 5 free characters, which is definitely a solid thing. But the event was so loose, such a mess, and... yeah, it's kind of like... It's cool and all, but... Yeah, can't really say much more. It was messy. Anyway, that's Treehouse Sahara XXX. I think there's definitely highlights, you know, good things about it. Adding 5 free characters is very, very cool, but when you're not getting very many buildings, very many decorations, because the prize track is completely filled up with returning stuff, overall, I just don't remember this event very fondly. Also, a lot of those characters were kind of shit anyway, so yeah. Clash of Creeds Christmas Royale. So we've talked about a Halloween event that's kind of chucked shit at the wall to see what stuck, and now we've got a Christmas update that has chucked a bunch of shit at the wall to see what stuck. And I think it's weird because both the deities are in this. You know, God was in the last one and Yahweh's in this one, and both of those, I quite like both of those characters. So it's kind of funny that both their events are on here. They always do seem to be like randomly thrown in, though, to be fair. Although Yahweh was actually included in the you know, quest line of this one, so it wasn't completely, you know, random. So let's talk about this event. So in terms of the quest line and in terms of the kind of the theme and all that, they basically try to do like what I think is actually not a bad idea. So they kind of based it sort of on the Joy of the Sect episode, but they were kind of trying to go for this kind of like, okay, so you have your beliefs, you have this beliefs, let's battle it out kind of thing. And it just kind of fell flat. It really did. And then they also, I think a much better idea would have been just to chuck in, a few more kind of Jewish themed stuff or Bible themed stuff. And maybe even like some Islam stuff. Chuck that in there as well. Kind of do like an actual kind of battle of, you know, Christmas, an actual battle of Clash of Creeds, and then you could have the leader kind of play a much bigger part in this event. Him kind of also has to be free and actually have like you'd actually have not a bad story. But what happens is it's just this really convoluted, crappy quest line with terrible characters and some terrible items, and also a structure that makes me want to slit my wrists. So let's start off with the characters. So we got Krusty Claus. Don't like him. Don't like him. Don't like him. Moses. Meh. The leader is terrible. Such a bad character. He had such potential to be such an awesome character, but they gave him 2 kind of mediocre animations, or crappy animations, and his questline was garbage, and he's not even free. He really should have been the free character to kind of lead this event, and yeah, I just think it's a missed opportunity. Baby Jesus was fine, although I think one of his animations a bit disturbing. King Herod was bad, bad, bad. Yahweh was pretty good, although Yahweh is just very good. I like Yahweh. I think Yahweh is probably better than God in terms of the price / what he does. You know, because Yahweh actually earns donuts, which is very cool. And yeah, it takes forever to earn those donuts, but you know, it's still something at least. And then Andre, I actually surprisingly liked Andre, so yeah, take it. I like Andre. He's all right. And of course we got the sexy Santa Marge, which is everyone's favourite costume. No, that costume was terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. So far we've got Baby Jesus, who I think's okay. Moses, who's a bit meh. Yahweh and Andre. So about a good half of the characters and costumes are bad and half are good. So that's not a good start, or mediocre at the very least. I think the only good ones is probably just Andre and Yahweh, to be honest. And then we've got decorations. The towny centre of Springfield Glenny, that one's okay. I like that one. Gospel for Less is pretty nice too. Burns Cult Headquarters is bad, because they've already added the statues in the game, or they already had one of the statues in the game, and B, this should really just be a facade. Toy Town, I don't mind, it's okay. The Movementarian Compound, I was a little disappointed at it, because I just feel like they should have, you know, let you kind of make your own Movementarian Compound. and like add all the different parts of it. So I was a little disappointed with that one. Baby Jesus' house is pretty nice. Herod's Citadel is okay, and the Jewish Walk of Fame is pretty nice too. So buildings, you know, for the most part, are pretty good. Only one bad one, I would say, there. Decorations. We've got the Movementarium ad truck, you know, things like that. I think for the most part the decorations were meh to good for sure. There are some nice ones. Like I like the Orthodox ambulance, for example, and I like the little sleighs that they added. And Heaven was pretty cool. Yeah, I like that one. But, of course, there's the structure too. So the structure of this event, I just think was a massive mess. Adding the movement, you know, like so Act 1, you have a character which is Krusty Claus, kind of a crappy character. Act 2, no characters, and returning item was in the prize track. Act 3, Moses at the start, and then just a bunch of stuff. And then Act 4 was the crappy Marge costume. So one kind of meh character. All the rest of the characters were really bad. And honestly, it's just mainly down to that. I think it was a bit of a mess of an event. I don't remember this very fondly. And I am considering now maybe swapping this and Halloween. Because maybe Halloween was a bit worse than this. But we'll stick with it. We'll stick with it for now. Yeah, just wasn't too keen on this one at all. So there you go. Clash of Grease Christmas Royale. Game of Games, the sequel. Oh, so I remember when this update first came out, I of course labeled it like the worst event I'd ever seen. And to be fair, I think it is one of the worst events we've got. Not the worst though. There's obviously one that's got the number one spot, so don't worry. Of course, the first event wasn't too great, of course. I gave an honourable mention, but it's only just because I kind of slightly preferred it to Holiday Whodunit, so those two were about on par. But the sequel was like a massive downstep from the original. The original was bad enough, but the sequel was terrible. So let's go through it. Starting off, there actually are, we'll start off with some positives. There are actually 4 pretty decent characters. Strawberry, Wally E. Weasel, Cosine, and of course, Huge Ass. I think all 4 of them weren't too bad. Strawberry, I think, was probably the weakest out of the 3, but all of them, not so bad. But there is one glaring issue with these 4 characters, and that's they're all premium. All 4 of the characters in this event were premium, meaning that we're just getting costumes for free. Now, normally that's not too bad. I don't mind that, but let's get into those costumes, because they're not great either. So, all 4 of these costumes were free. We've got the Game Master to start off with. This costume was terrible, because A, it was a blatant reskin of the detonator from the first event, and B, it's a costume for Milo, and Milo is of course premium, and they didn't give us Milo for free in this event, so in order to actually even unlock this costume, you have to buy Milo. The costume itself is pretty crappy too. It's got one pretty decent animation, but that's about it. The questline wasn't great, and the whole big reveal was really crappy because they spoilt it in the, splash screen, and they just chuck it in like part 2 of the quest line. It would have been cooler if it was a bit of a big reveal, remove it from the files and actually have his kind of involvement be a big reveal. That would have been pretty cool. Pirate Nelson is, I didn't mind the animations, but the actual costume itself is very boring looking, and questline wasn't great, but I didn't mind the animations. Cleric Marge is actually a very cool costume, so I'll give that one credit, and Lady Millhouse is okay. So, 2 crappy costumes, or one very crappy costume, 1 meh costume, and 2 good costumes. So, not great. Building-wise, there's some okay ones in here. The Captain Blizz's Zapateria, that one's okay. Bart's Moon Mansion felt very disconnected, and it was added in, and it did feel a bit random, but it's an okay-looking building. Toys R Us, I'm a bit sick of toys buildings, to be honest, by this point, so I wasn't too keen on this one. And then the premium buildings, you got the Broken Dream storage lockers. It's not too bad, I don't mind that one. The Multicultural Center is pretty cool, and the Palm Springfield Resort is also pretty cool. In terms of decorations, they're all pretty crappy, and that's another sort of negative for this event. The tennis balls shooter, don't like. The little Paduba Dubstepper isn't great. The arcade cabinets, I just don't like the whole interior thing, so I wasn't too keen on that. And of course the wall as well, which you can buy for premium, wasn't keen on that. Lee Carvello standees, meh. The space simulators, meh. The shower computer was awful. I don't understand why they needed to add that. The crowd of cosplayers, don't like either. The Frinkatic 7's okay, I guess, and the Malibu Stacy Kart's okay, I guess, but yeah, for the most part, the decorations were pretty crappy. And then looking at the structure, the first act didn't have a character or costume. The second act, of course, had the Milo one, which, you know, if you didn't have Milo, meant you've got nothing, basically, in that thing. You know, you got something in your storage that you couldn't use. The third act, of course, had the Nelson one. And then, so the fourth act was the only half-decent one. But, of course, with this with this event, it had tokens in the prize tracks, and that really let down the event as well. So yeah, overall, I just did not like this event. I think it was really, really crappy, really, really awful story, really, really awful quest line, some terrible costumes, some, you know, decent characters, but when there's only like one decent element in an event, I don't think that's a very good thing to say. But anyway, so that's Game of Games the sequel is number 2, but of course, there is an event that is worse than Game of Games the sequel, so can we have that drum roll, please? Springfield Enlightened. So I was tussling with the sort of top 3, I guess. Like, I wasn't sure which out of the top 3 did I really want to put as number 1. And it's weird, because apart from Springfield Enlightened and Holiday Whodunit, every single event has the whole tokens in the prize track, and I do think that is something that I heavily dislike, and a lot of events that I kind of really dislike tend to have the tokens in the prize track. Not all, but a lot of them do. But strangely, this event, Springfield Enlightened, actually has a full prize track, you know? Apart from an animation, you get one new thing to chuck in your town, or 2 animations, sorry. There's 2 animations in the prize track, but apart from that, there's a bunch of decorations, buildings, and characters that you can add in your town. So how come with a full, you know, fleshed out prize track, how did this event lose to like an event like Halloween XXX, you know, Treehouse Horror XXX, which has 2 returning items per prize track, or something like Abe's and Toyland, you know, which also has the 2 tokens in a prize track, and that's not even like, you don't even get combos in that one, it's just pure tokens. So how come an event like this that doesn't do that has made it number 1? Well, that's because I would rather quality over quantity, and I think that that's very important when looking at it. I don't want to always judge an event just solely on its structure, just solely on its characters, or just solely on its buildings. I want to judge an event on its entirety, and I think for that reason, this event is definitely the worst of all the multi-events that we've ever gotten, because oh my, do I not care for any of the stuff in here. I don't care for most of the characters, I don't care for half of the buildings, and I don't care for the decorations. So let's get into the specifics. But shall we stick it on a tiny little positive? I think at the very least, the structure I still don't like. I don't like the structure overall, but at the least, you know, Act 1 has Sid Martha, who I think is probably the best out of all the characters, or one of the best out of all the characters. Act 2 has the Meditating Bear, an NPC, but whatever, at least there's something. Act 3 has Marquess Millhouse, and Act 4 has Queen Gautama. So at the very least, there's a character, costume, or NPC in each prize track. And that's my only positive. Let's get into the characters. So starting off with characters, I wasn't too keen on most of them. So Sid Martha, like I said, I think she's probably the best out of the bunch. At least she has something to her. It is very Lisa-esque, but at least there's some personality to her, I guess, as well. Although it basically is just Lisa. Marquess Millhouse is probably one of the worst characters ever added. Terrible questline, terrible animations, and the character itself probably didn't really need to exist, because in the episode he has like a 2-second, like an on-screen appearance of about a minute, and he has like 2 lines. Queen Gautama, or Gautama? Yeah, I think Gautama. So Gautama or Gautama? Anyway, Queen Gautama is not great either. Pretty bad animations, pretty bad character. Wasn't too keen. Advisor Frink, same thing. crappy character, crappy animations, didn't like. King Gautama, didn't like, crappy animations, didn't like. Prince Gautama, didn't like, crappy animations, did not like. And you will also note that all these characters are, of course, doppelgangers, which I think this was the height of the doppelganger problem. I think this is when I was sick of doppelgangers. So, yeah, wasn't too keen on all of these guys. The Dalai Lama, I was actually, when it first came out, I went, oh, at least we're getting the Dalai Lama, that's pretty cool. And he comes out, I play it through him, and he's boring. His questline's boring. His animations aren't great. I think there was like one animation I wasn't too fussed on, and there was one it was like meh, it was okay. But yeah, honestly, overall the Dalai Lama was kind of disappointing. Wasn't too keen on him. I think if I had to say good or bad, I think I would probably say bad, to be honest. The Master, I think, is the one silver lining of this event. He was a great character, decent enough animations, although I did want them to do a little bit more with him. I kind of wanted to make him in kind of like a deity, because that's how he's kind of presented. You know, they have to walk up this sort of mountain to see him. So I think it could have been cool if they made it into like a kind of like a deity figure, like God and Yahweh. But I mean, overall, yeah, I think he was a pretty cool character. Then we of course have buildings. Oh, just briefly, the NPC, he's fine. But we have buildings. So we have the first one there is okay. The second one there is pretty decent. Springfield Elenzenteri. That one's I quite like too. So those first three buildings are not too bad. The Royal Tower, Tower of Science, I'm sick of towers, so I don't really like them. And then the final three, the premium three, you know what? Oh, a few more premium there. The final four anyway. Taj Mahal's awesome. Jogyesa Temple's okay. Ancient multiplayer game I do kind of like, and Gautama Palace I do kind of like. So those last four buildings I like. For the most part, the buildings in this event weren't too bad. I think this is the one good thing about this event, is buildings. All the characters for the most part were crappy, but all of the buildings I don't hate that much. You know, the only ones I'm not too keen on is the Royal Tower and Tower of Science, but mainly just because I'm sick of towers. And then decorations, Golden Buddha is meh, Fu Temple Dog meh, the Body Tree I actually quite like. It's big, it's huge. They actually put it to scale, so that one was pretty impressive. But the rest I'm not too keen on. The Crazy Princess viewing area, didn't like. The sensory deprivation tank, wasn't too keen on. The party elephant, didn't care for. The wet sari contest, didn't care for. Sid Martha's ponies, we've got so many ponies and horses before, don't care for. The salt mandala, I wasn't too keen on. And the enlightenment fountain, I did think was a pretty cool thing. I mean, maybe not enough to end the event on, but it was still a pretty cool decoration. So I'll give that one a pass. But the rest of the decorations I just did not like. And then, like I said, with structure, we talked about it before, there was like 2 animations chucked in there, and they just weren't that interesting, either of the animations. For example, just like a small thing, the Homer Meditate animated job is actually, he does that at the Golden Buddha. But the thing is, they could have just added that animation with the Golden Buddha, like they did in the Hell event. They had like some crappy little decorations in that event. I don't think that event was perfect. The Hell event, there was a lot of kind of crappy decorations, but at the very least, with the animations that they had with those decorations, like the cursed desk, for example, I did not like the cursed desk. I think it was a really small, crappy decoration, and I was like, wow, that's filling up a part in the prize track. But it also had an animation that was included with it, so I was kind of a little passing on it. I think, like, the Golden Buddha I don't mind as a decoration, but it's like a small, like, sort of thing that they could have done to improve it. Is just give us the animated job with Homer, include that with the Golden Buddha. That would have made it better. But I think maybe they were strapped for content. I think this is another example of, like, taking a very, very small segment or a small episode and trying to, like, sort of heave an event out of it. I think character-wise as well, I think characters and buildings are the most important thing to me, and I think the characters in this event were so diabolical, so terrible. I think that's definitely let down the event for me, and it's annoying because there are some really nice buildings in this event, so I don't want to. And of course the Master is also pretty cool, so yeah, overall, I think Springfield Enlightened is probably my worst update. I might be convinced to swap maybe this with Gamer Games a sequel, or maybe my third one. What was it? What was my third one on the list? I don't even remember. But yeah, I could be convinced to like swap a few things around here and there. But I'm pretty confident on the list for the most part. So anyway, tell me your thoughts. Sorry this video has been so long, but I shall see you in the next one. Yeah, goodbye. Maybe I'll do mini events next.